What it do, YouTube, and welcome back to another solid reaction. And today, man, we got 6 NBA legends who would be amazing in today's game, bro. If it's my picks, like, I'm just gonna go off of mine, bro. Just off me alone, man. For sure, we gotta put Mike there. Larry Bird. If anybody who I think can really be dominant in today's era, John Stockton, bro. I think the way he plays opens up the floor just so much more for the space on the floor and stuff like that. Another great player who I think would be dominant in today's game, I think Akeem Olajuwon would be too. The reason why I'm saying that is because you don't see too many 7-footers who do what he does. And let me think of somebody else. That was like 4, right? I'm putting Scotty out there. Scotty for sure would. He's another Klay Thompson. He gonna be different. Let me think. Magic Johnson, most definitely. You gotta put him there. Clyde. I think Slide to Clyde would be freaking amazing. Charles Barkley would be somewhere doing doubles on people, like giving people the business. Cause that's a big dude. He's like a Zion build. Like, if you really look at Charles Barkley, him and Zion got so much in common, bro. That's what, 5, 6. Let me give me one more. I'm just gonna throw one more out there that I think would be cold. We gotta go with Pistons. Isaiah Thomas. We don't go with Isaiah Thomas just because the simple fact is Isaiah was one of them, hezzy kings. He could dribble. And it looked like people were like, oh, he couldn't really dribble like that. No. Isaiah he was a pitter-patter, bro. He got it done. But, man, we're going to go ahead and check this video out, man. I hope y'all guys do enjoy this one, man. If y'all the first time seeing me on your screen, man, do me a favor, bro. Hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn your notifications on so you never miss another solid reaction. But let's go ahead and get into this one and see exactly what's going on, man. I hope y'all guys enjoy it with me.
Here are 6 NBA legends who would be amazing in today's NBA. Throughout NBA history, there's always been a debate. As the eras go by, many fans ponder, how would a past player play in today's NBA? How would a current day player play in that era? For example, how would Jordan play in the current days of the NBA? How would LeBron James play if he played in the 80s and the 90s? There's always questions.
I think he'll be alright. I don't think he'll be good, but I think he'll be alright.
Where much of it is based on speculation. It's based on what
sure wasn't lasting no 22 years in the
landscape. When we compare players, a lot of it is.
Look at that. Oh, look at that. Every time Charles is a big dude, bro. Like, look at the rim.
It's based on what ifs.
And he's running down the court.
Landscape. When we compare players, a lot of it is hypothetical. And so obviously, this is just my opinion. These are 6 NBA legends that I believe would play well in today's NBA. But I want to hear your opinion down in the comment section below. Give me 6 NBA players that you believe would be amazing in today's NBA.
Okay.
And without further ado, I would really appreciate it if you guys could leave a like to support the channel. Let's aim for 3,000 likes. And if you're new around here and you enjoy NBA content every single week,
was that Dominic Wilkins? I didn't think about Dominic Wilkins.
Let's get into the video. Number 6, Bill Russell.
This
one is questionable. Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell. Which one would do better in today's NBA? In my opinion, I'm taking Bill. Not because he's a proven winner. With his size at 6'9", 6'10", which suits the modern game, his athletic ability, which was amazing in the 1950s, just imagine how it would translate in today. He
basically took off from the free throw line, bro.
He's an 11-time NBA champion and a 5-time MVP. He's obviously a top 10 player of all time. But because of the time period in which he played in, he usually seems to be overlooked. Obviously, he was a great player, but when people talk about Bill Russell, they either praise him or really diminish him based on the era that he played in, which is not uncommon for players that played in the 1950s, 60s, and even 70s.
I think Bill would have been all right. The reason why I think Bill would have been all right in today's game is Bill would have evolved and adapted with it. I don't think he would have just stayed the same. And that's the thing. Like, I think Bill would have been like, nah, they got a 3-point line now? What is this all about? Figure this out. Okay, so I can, I'm getting all of this space. I'm big. I can just go up around him like that. What's this about? Okay, on defense, I can, I like that. Okay, I think Bill would have adapted, and that's what would have made Bill a great player in today's game. I think that's what his adaptation of the game and his ability to figure out what's next, that's what would have made Bill Russell a great
But obviously, player. He can't help the era that he played in, so we have to take him for what he did at his time. But why would Bill Russell be amazing in today's NBA? Well, he was far ahead of his time with his assist and his defensive capabilities. And even being somewhat undersized would actually be even more helpful and useful in the NBA today. But obviously the big question is Bill Russell and his offensive game. And look, Bill Russell didn't have the best offensive capabilities, but if he played in today's NBA, you would assume he'd be a little bit better. Maybe his array of moves would be a bit better. A bit of a post game, a little bit of a mid-range shot, considering his shot form wasn't actually too bad. But even as a pick and roll player, he could still average the same points per game that he did, just based off his pick and roll game with the spacing there is today. The way that I look at it is if somebody like Clint Capella, last season for the Houston Rockets, averaged 16.6 points, 12.7 rebounds, and he's around the same height as Bill Russell. Since Clint Capella doesn't really have that much of an offensive game, dissimilar to Bill Russell, and if Bill Russell's able to set a screen for somebody like Trae Young or James Harden, he's going to be wide open in the paint with most defenses doubling the ball. Not to mention, Bill Russell loved to pass, so if he could set a screen for Harden, catch the ball, look to pass, if not, go in for the easy dunk, but still play the amazing defense that he played back in the 1950s, I think at minimum, Bill Russell is a 15 rebounds, 4 blocks per game player, which would win the defensive player of the league if he played today. In addition, with his playmaking ability for his time in the 1950s, he would also be one of those players that championship teams would be built around. And it really begs the question, if Bill Russell played in today's NBA, would he be able to hold his own? Well, no matter how good you think Wilt Chamberlain would be today, it doesn't take more than the eye test to see that Wilt Chamberlain was a freak of nature. And it was Bill Russell who played against him and got the better of Wilt more times than not. Wilt Chamberlain was over 7 feet tall and was so dominant, and it was Bill Russell who shut him down. So if I could compare him to someone of the modern NBA, I'd say he'd be like a Ben Wallace type, with much better passing skills. Ben Wallace, like Bill Russell, didn't care about his offensive numbers too much, nor did they have a vast amount of moves offensively. He's the perfect guy that you could have to lock down any other player on the opposition team, and he would play his role each and every night. Bill Russell probably wouldn't be as successful in today's NBA in terms of championships, nor would he be the star player on a team on the offensive end.
But I think he'd be a solid end point. Like, I think he would be a Draymond Green. Like, he is the function of the team. He's the heart. You know, that's what Bill Russell would be. And I would love to have seen him with James Harden. I think that would have been a good duo. I would have really loved to see that.
But to think that he wouldn't be the best, if not one of the best defensively, is just absurd.
Who we got number 5?
Pistol Pete Maravich.
They talking about Mr. Madness? The hands, the pity. Ooh, Pistol Pete, bro. Yes. Why did I not think Pistol Pete, bro? All them little moves you see Kyrie do, he started them jokers. All the little dribbling, paddling, and moving, he did it first. That dude right there, that's Mr. I got a big bag. You feel me? He got the biggest bag I've ever seen. I seen it. Bro, y'all gotta watch some Pistol Pete videos. Ain't gonna hold y'all. Yeah,
Pistol Pete was one of those legends that was far ahead of his time. And the people knew that even when he was playing in the moment. He would pull out moves that nobody had seen before. He was also taller than the average point guard. He could dribble like today's players, and he could even shoot the ball at an elite level. He was the prototype for 2-time MVPs Steve Nash and Stephen Curry. Nash said, and I quote, "Pete is one of my favorite players of all time. I truly admired him, and I wanted to be more like him. And it's quite clear that when you watch Steve Nash, you can see a little bit of Pistol Pete in him. It's quite obvious that Pete Maravich's legacy still lives on in players today. Before even making it to the NBA at Louisiana State University, he broke Oscar Robertson's all-time scoring record, averaging a staggering 44.2 points per game without the benefit of a three-point line, which is just insane.
That's why that man walk around with that 4-4 on him. He walk around with that 4-4 on him. He let him know, hey, look, I put the 4-4 on him. I averaged 4-4 in the college. What you mean?
Maravich finished his college career with 3,667 points, a mark that stands to this day. And this is what the great Bill Walton had to say about a statistician who went back and looked at this achievement.
Amazing about Pete, 44 points per game, career for 3 straight years in an era with no three-point line. Dale Brown, who coached at LSU after Press and Pete were there, Dale Brown went back and charted all the games with the running
and he
score.
He put in the 3 ball. Let's see.
Maravich free throw, Maravich 22-foot jumper, Maravich layup. And he calculated that with the current college 3-point rule at 19.9, Pete Maravich would have averaged 13 three-point makes per game, which would have given him a career average of 57 points per game under today's rules. That guy is unbelievable. We love him. We missed him terribly. What a great friend. What a great team.
You see the pistol
Pete's highlights were just crazy. But if you just watch some of the off-the-dribble threes he took, and then you realize that the NBA only had the three-point shot in his final season, you soon question how great he could have been in the NBA today. Not only could he shoot, but the insane passing ability and the handles, and he was 6'5", he'd be the ideal point guard
Pistol
today.
Pete was
Unfortunately,
different.
throughout his career, he was often injury plagued, but you can assume that with today's fitness and modern medicine, he would benefit even more than any other player on this list. Not to mention, with more room on the court today and the spacing the way it is, a far better three-point shot than most other players in the league, Pete Maravich's range was insane. It's just tough to see how Pete Maravich wouldn't translate in today's NBA, considering most of the point guards today play the way that Pete Maravich used to. Number 4, Isaiah Thomas.
Okay,
we're talking about a team that wouldn't be as great today. Well, the bad boy Pistons would probably feel the effects of playing in today's NBA. They truly wouldn't be a great team. I mean, you're considering the number of hard fouls they used to have, the intimidation factor they used to bring, and I mean, with flagrant fouls today, the Pistons just don't have a chance. They really suited the old style in the 80s, and they would hate what people call the softness of today's game. But if we're talking about a player, an individual talent, Isaiah Thomas would fit unbelievably well in today's NBA. The NBA obviously has become much more of an ISO-heavy league, and with somebody of Isaiah's skill level, he'd be unguardable, even more so today than in the 1980s. I mean, could you really imagine if he were playing against guards like Kyrie Irving, Trae Young, Stephen Curry, and Russell Westbrook? IT has the speed, defensive and offensive capabilities to still be one of the toughest point guards today. Yes, the other guards are obviously elite talents, but this isn't about who's better. This is Isaiah Thomas and what he'd bring to the game today. He said in a Knuckleheads podcast that if he were playing today,
even when people thought you was fancy, that wasn't fan. That was just the swag of your game.
If I got to play in this NBA, where you can be fancy, where you can sit down in front of somebody and really pat it get like 10, 15 times between your legs.
This is what I'm telling you. When we play, we get it and I ain't even...
Part of the reason that there are so many elite point guards in the modern NBA today is because many rules of the game have been tweaked to heighten their gifts. The original Isaiah Thomas was a dominant player in his era, but if he were playing today, he certainly would be able to hold his own, which couldn't be said about some other point guards in his era. For example, John Stockton. He made the dream team over Isaiah in 1992, but Isaiah Thomas would translate far better in today's NBA than John Stockton. Number 3.
I think Johnny would have... This is just me. I think Johnny would have been okay. That's just me. I think Johnny would have had some assist games, bro. Like, he would have been crazy.
George Gervin. People really...
Mr. Three Ball, Mr. Ice in the vein. We talking about him? Yeah. You thinking? Oh, see, y'all young dudes think Russ. Yeah. Mr. Ice in the veins. The Trey. Ice Trey, baby. What you mean?
Tend to forget about the Iceman.
Yes,
Due to the Celtics and Lakers rivalry, which dominated the 1980s. Obviously, San Antonio at the time in particular was one of the smallest and least promising markets in the NBA. A team that once looked like it may not survive. But then George Gervin completely changed that. It wasn't until the Iceman put on a show that they became a team. And he was a spectacle by himself. We all know that the era in the 1980s was one of the greatest of all time. You had two of the greatest players in the league, Magic and Larry Bird, fighting it out. They took the limelight. But the Iceman was also very good during this time. Whilst he entered the NBA in the 1970s, he did play 7 seasons in the 1980s and still averaged crazy numbers during his time.
That finger roll of his
From 1980
crazy.
up until 1985, 1 year before he retired, he was averaging 27, nearly 28 points per game, which just shows how great he was offensively. Think about how smooth he would be in today's NBA though, because it's all about isolation and floor spacing, and Gervin was 6'7", 6'8", at 185 pounds. He used to bang shots off the glass, he used to finger roll, which is a lost art form in today's NBA. But you still have to assume if George Gervin played in today's NBA, he'd be a better jump shooter, but he'd also be able to finish all over you with his leaping ability and with his wingspan. After all, George Gervin was the first NBA player to weaponize the three-point shot. To put it into perspective,
I'm starting to notice these ain't players that we would think of. So I'm hesitant. I want to see who the top two are.
It was the 1979-1980
I put Magic.
where Magic
Who else
Johnson
I have?
and
The
Larry
Magic,
Bird were rookies,
Larry Bird,
and the league had
Mike.
tried something new, a three-point shot.
So I don't know.
Little did they know it would eventually change the entire league. And by the end of the first season, teams had averaged less than 3 3-point attempts per game. But George Gervin was somewhat ahead of his time. He by himself averaged 1.3 attempts per game, which meant that he was open to actually taking the three-point shots when many other players weren't. I personally think that his skill set in his prime years would be well suited to play in the modern NBA. He'd probably play different, fewer layups, and more mid-range shots, but someone like DeMar DeRozan has shown it's still a possibility to be successful the way that Iceman used to play.
Yeah, fact.
Number 2, Mark Price. He's quite similar to the...
No. God, this is a hell of a video, bro. MP. Mr. Mark Price, bro. Yes. Off wall. Yes. I don't know why he's not number 1. Number 1 better be good as hell. We talking about Mark Price. We talking about this was Curry before Curry. Before you put the chef, the original chef who was cooking it before he gave a potluck to Curry. That's him right there.
The Pistol Pete comparison, but Mark Price is one of the most underrated players of all time, and honestly, he's somebody who could definitely play in any era. He's also the least obvious selection on the list. Mark Price might be the only player mentioned here who may have been more successful playing today, even though he was very solid in his prime.
Wow.
The biggest difference that Price had is that he could actually shoot very well. Like, he was a shooter before we even had elite shooters. To put it into comparison,
that's like sniper.
Price is one of the best shooters who ever lived, which isn't a bold statement. He led the league in free throw percentage on 3 separate occasions. His career true shooting percentage of 58.6, which is truly insane, is up there with the greatest shooters of all time, including Steph.
Bro, as you watch old NBA players, you start falling in love with some of these players you never even thought about. Like Mark Price, bro. I take a bullet for him on God, because that boy right there, that's a sniper. We're talking about deep range sniper.
His ability to shoot would be the absolute perfect weapon for the modern NBA.
Look at that.
We've seen what Steph Curry has done. We've seen what Trae Young has done. Mark Price would just be very similar. He'd be perfect because the NBA today is an offensive league looking to space the floor and keep the defense stretched as far as possible. Mark Price was a superb NBA player. He was a 4-time All-Star, a fantastic shooter for his day. So he would only be better in today's NBA, in my opinion. When Steph Curry had his prestigious 50-40-90 season, it only contained 6 members at the time, all of which are NBA grades. Larry Bird, Reggie Miller, Steve Nash, Dirk, and Kevin Durant, alongside Mark Price. And this collection of players, in my opinion, could play in any era, and especially in this era, which leaves me to the next and final player.
Who y'all got number 1? Comment down below who y'all think number 1 is going to be, because I think it's gonna be the hick from French Lick. I know it. I just got it in my chest because Larry was we talking about the shooters of all shooters. He's father shooter himself.
At number 1, Larry Bird. It seems to be one of the biggest questions that I've heard during my time as an NBA YouTuber.
The thing I would have loved to see, that what would have made it crazy for Larry Bird to play in today's game is the medicine. That's what would have made him deadly. You ain't got to change nothing Larry Bird did. Just get the medicine so he can heal himself the correct way. You feel what I'm saying? If he had the right way to take care of his body and you know keep his body healthy, hey, on GD, Larry Bird gonna have more championships than any team combined. Whatever team Larry Bird land on, he gonna have more championships than any team. The Spurs got like 15. I'm giving Larry 30 championships. He gonna win every year. That's how I'm feeling. I'm coming like that. I know I'm just spitballing. I'm not being real. But you feel what I'm feeling like? I would trust Larry Bird to win more games like that. That's all I'm saying.
Would Larry Bird really be able to play in the modern NBA? Is Larry Bird that skilled? I mean, he was skilled in the 80s, but is he really that skilled if he played today?
No, bro.
Absolutely.
Binger, give me this.
In fact, it would be scary watching Larry Bird play in the modern NBA. Like, genuinely scary. he would find it even easier than he played in the 1980s, in my opinion. In the current style of the NBA, it would fit him better than Jordan. I'm not saying he's a better player than Jordan.
It would fit him better.
The current NBA style would fit him more than it would fit Jordan. Larry Bird entered the league just as the three-point shot had entered the NBA. And undoubtedly, it would be an even better asset in today's NBA than it was in his own time. Think about it. Let's just take Luka Doncic, for example. Not necessarily the most gifted and athletic player. Yes, he probably has better handles than Larry Bird, but Larry Bird had the heart, he had the dog, and he had the winning mentality that very few players have today. He practically excelled in every offensive skill in the 1980s, and it's become even more open in today's NBA. Lastly, you could argue that Bird may struggle defensively, keeping up with some of the quicker, faster, and more athletic players today, but with the usual small ball lineups that we see today, Bird really could become a stretch four at 6'9". He's a guy that was an amazing rebounder, and he could distort defenses with his outside shooting and unbelievable passing. It wouldn't even matter as much today how he played defensively.
Oh, pass to my boy. Finish that.
Which even a prime Bird could still play great defensively if he really focused and wasn't injured. It wasn't until he got older and started having back issues in which he really struggled more so to keep up.
And that's what I'm
over the last 9 years.
That's what I'm saying. If we fix Larry Bird's back, I don't think Mike wins a ring, bro. And that's coming from a Michael Jordan fan. I don't think Mike wins a ring. If we fix Larry Bird up, I don't think Mike wins a ring.
Of his career,
maybe he would have had 2 because Larry would have been out of the league by then. But I don't think he would have.
He shot 39.8% from the three-point line.
Give me this.
But took only 2.6 shots from downtown a game. He averaged over 28 points per game.
Give me that. Call your mama, not me.
His prime years.
Oh, stop and pop.
Even shooting more than 3 threes per game. Imagine him firing up 7 threes a game.
He having fun out there.
So let me know down below what you think about this list. Let me know if you have any other players that you think would dominate in today's NBA compared to when they played. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like to show your support.
He gonna get that from me for sure.
If you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more NBA content.
All right, man, that is the end of this video, man. With the list, bro, you did your thing with it. I'm gonna be honest with you, I loved it. I would have probably, I love Larry Bird, and I don't want to. He is right. He would be the one person on this list who would probably dominate the most of being in the league right now. He would be the best one. But I just would enjoy it so much better to see Mark Price. Like, imagine 2 Stephen Currys. Like, it would have been like, and then you think about it, like it'd have been, they'd have had like a little battle with it. They'd have called it the Battle of the Range. The Rifleman. You get what I'm saying? The Battle of the Range. I would have loved to see that, man. It would have been crazy. But this list, I did enjoy it. I do think Julius Gervin should have been a little bit higher. But, you know, I actually like how you got it set up. You know, that's just me. But thank you guys for checking out this video, man. If y'all guys did enjoy this one, man, do your boy a favor, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn your notifications on so you never miss another solid reaction. But I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.